This episode is brought to you by Fond Recollections. Cherish the fond memories of your loved ones with their interactive living obituary.
He worked so hard to ensure we had a great life, but now he's gone. We miss him so much. One day our granddaughter won't remember him, or how wonderful he was. Fond Recollections offers us a chance to remember him when he was young and full of life. With Fond Recollections memorial plaques and website, we could upload all our photos and videos of him.
Visit fondrecollection.com today and cherish the happy memories of your loved ones.
Chapter 9. The Preacher's Demise. Over at Albright's mansion, things were getting heated in the Reverend's master bedroom early in the morning. The Reverend, who could not care less of what was happening to his neighborhood, was having a good time with his Latina lovers. He had taught the young ladies the importance of morning sex, or as he called it, the morning ride. Both knew if they wanted to stay in his good graces and remain in this country, they had to do anything this freaky man of the cloth desired. The Reverend had a lot of sexual fantasies built up in his mind, and he made the Latina women act out these fantasies that were elaborate and downright absurd at times. He had been living this lifestyle for so long that he no longer felt aroused by average intimacy and wanted to employ strange and unique ways to please himself. He demanded the young ladies address him as Papi, Spanish meaning father, and forced them to never look at other men in the eyes when they talked to them. He was a borderline pimp when it came to them. Most American women his age would not dare entertain his demands, which is why he acquired the young ladies from the Dominican Republic when they were still in their late teens. Hell, the way he saw it, their parents practically sold the girls to him for a small fee if he sent money to them on a regular basis. The Reverend agreed and fulfilled his part of the agreement until the girls reached 18 years old. After that, he refused to let the young ladies connect with their loved ones again. On the other hand, the women went along with whatever the Reverend wanted them to do because he kept them in an environment of luxury. Both had expensive jewelry and drove cars that women from their country could not imagine driving. They shopped at designer clothing stores and had access to the best recreational drugs money could buy. As their time with the Reverend grew, both learned to enjoy his freaky demands and believed that they would have been doing the same things in their homeland with tourists for a far less luxurious lifestyle. Both remembered the words the Reverend frequently said to them while demanding some bizarre sex acts. Since all women are going to fuck anyway, you might as well get paid for it or get something out of it that benefits you. And with me, babies, you are getting both. Now let's fuck. This was a classic pimp move. Just convince both the women that they needed to please without thinking about the outcome. The words he spoke always made sense to both, and they did what was demanded of them every time. This time around, the Reverend wanted them to dress up as nurses. He ordered the outfits from the local adult store that was known for the privacy of its customers. The Reverend felt the store owner would not expose his secret life because he had spent thousands of dollars at the establishment over the years. This morning, both the women were going to aid the pretending Reverend in removing his clothing for a bath. Acting as a helpless patient, he would need both ladies to help him bathe properly. He began to smile as the young ladies approached him with lust in their eyes. As the role-playing session went on, the Reverend was soon inside the sheets with his two Latina lovers and was having the time of his life. They roughly removed his clothes as he was still pretending to be helpless. Having the feeling of lust take over him, he could no longer keep up the role-play act and started to have rough sex with one while the other assisted him. Suddenly, the door to his master bedroom slammed open with a force so great that a large picture hanging on the wall near it crashed to the ground, causing the glass from the picture frame to shatter. The person that stepped through the door made the Reverend's eyes open widely and jump with fear. It was Bells, and he had two guns in his hands. Bells had a look of disgust on his face. He thought to himself, just look at this sick motherfucker. With girls half his damn age, a fucking sex predator. On the other hand, the Reverend thought to himself that Bells was not going to leave his home empty-handed, and how the hell was he going to talk his way out of this shit? Bells, what are you doing in my goddamn house? I gave you my money, your jewelry, and my damn car. What fucking else do you want from me? You coming in here with guns and shit? Hell, you scaring both my babies. The Reverend looked over to his Latina lovers angrily and continued, Girls, didn't I tell you two to make sure those damn doors were locked? He raised his hand to strike the young ladies and said, Why the fuck am I taking care of you both when neither you bitches will listen? I will send both of you rice and beans eating bitches back to that third world shithole so fast that your fucking heads will still be spinning, wondering what the fuck just happened when you get there.
We did lock the doors, Papi,
Said both the Latina ladies at the same time with their heads facing the ground, as they knew looking at Bells would cause a violent reaction from the already heated Reverend. Bitches, stop lying, he shouted. Then how the fuck did this nigga get in here? Bells had had enough of the fiasco and decided to put an end to this pointless banter. Listen to yourself, yelling at bitches half your age. You are a fake ass, holy Uncle Tom ass Reverend. I guess you don't remember that you were supposed to look out for me. The Reverend could not even remember the color of his garments he had just taken off moments ago, let alone whatever Bells was saying. He quickly tried to calm Bells down before things were completely out of hand. Wait, man, wait. I wanted to be there for you, but Mark insisted that he would handle it for you. That's the motherfucker you want. Just let me and my babies go, please. We will move away and you will never see us again. Hell, it's going to be just a matter of time before everyone in the community figures out what's going on. And I want to be long gone before that happens. So what do you say? Please spare us, brother. Bells reminded him, Motherfucker, did you really think that little money I took from your bitch ass was enough for all the years I spent behind bars? You motherfuckers were supposed to take care of my trial, but you both left me there in that courtroom knowing I would rot in prison, didn't you? I guess you both forgot that we set that fire to Johnson's funeral home. It wasn't just me, you piece of shit. The Reverend responded quickly to diffuse Bells' anger. Then how the fuck did you get out with time served so soon? Don't tell me that the badass Bells started snitching. Man, shut the fuck up. There were motherfuckers in prison with me that did the same crime as me and only get 20 years behind bars. It was only years later that I was able to discover that you and fucking Mark Williams was an informant against me. So I have come back for all the money. That's right, nigga. Every fucking dime owed to me. All of it? Shit, now hold on, my brother. Take one of these bitches, but not all of my money, said the Reverend with a look of desperation on his face. Both are trained to do whatever you desire. Tell them, babies. Both young ladies with their heads still facing the downward position nodded in agreement. Now I know you have not had any woman pussy in years, nigga. Shit, take one of these bitches. I told you I would leave town, but I'm gonna need money to do it. Plus, leaving fucking Mark is not gonna be easy. That motherfucker got powerful friends, as we both know. Who the fuck are you calling brother? That ship sailed a long time ago, nigga. It's Mr. Bells for you now, said Bells as he raised both his guns and pointed them towards the naked and afraid Reverend. First you insult me by calling me a snitch. Then you pretty much call me a homosexual just because I was in prison. Nigga, you just pissed me off even more. See, I was going to take you up on your offer. I was going to let you go and take one of these bitches after taking your money. But now fuck you and both these bitches. In the blink of an eye, Bell switched his aim from the Reverend to one of the Latina ladies and shot her point blank in the head. This caused panic, and the other woman started screaming at the top of her lungs. She was covered with her friend's brain matter. The young lady's blood had splattered on both her and the Reverend. Both were now paralyzed in fear as they sensed that their own end was near. Bells looked at both and yelled, "Tell that bitch of yours to shut the fuck up," as he pointed his gun at the Reverend's head. Now that I got your fucking attention, get your ass up and fetch me my money from that fancy safe of yours. The Reverend, who was now being forced to act against his will, got up and approached the safe.
Por favor, no dispares,
Screamed the Latina woman as tears rolled down her eyes. Quiet, goddammit! He's gonna shoot your dumb ass and mine too, said Reverend to the Latina woman, who started panicking even more. At this point, Bells had had enough of the woman screaming, and he decided to shoot the woman in the chest and then the head, leaving her motionless on a bloody bed. The Reverend could not believe his eyes. It was now sure that Bells was not playing around. He realized he had to give up everything he had to Bells if he wanted to have even a chance to get out of this situation alive. And once Bells would leave, he would contact Mark, who had some cops on his payroll to take care of Bells. While the Reverend was plotting revenge, Bells noticed the look of shock on the Reverend's face, who was standing as still as a statue, and said, "Hurry the fuck up and open the safe, lest you want to end up like these bitches with holes in different parts of your fucking body." "Shit, man, I'm nervous. You just killed both my ladies. What the fuck they do to you?" said the Reverend as he entered the password to his safe in the wall with trembling hands. As the safe opened, the Reverend yelled, backing away from the safe with both hands in the air to show no threat to Bells. "Here, take the damn money," with his hands still shaking from witnessing both his young ladies murdered as he tried to speak calmly. Damn, Rev, that's a lot of money. Great, now be a good boy and hand me those 2 clean pillowcases from your bed so I can bag all this paper. And don't get the ones with the blood on them either, bitch, said Bells with a big smile on his face. The Reverend, who was now hoping that Bells would appreciate his cooperation and let him live, carefully picked up a pair of bloodless pillowcases from the bed, which was now clearly a crime scene, and handed over the pillowcases to Bells. The Reverend watched him take all his fortunes. After Bells removed all the belongings from the safe, he turned to the Reverend and said, I'm pretty sure you heard me when I told you I want all of it. Go to your computer and log into that bank account of yours. Now, said Bells as he placed one of his guns on the Reverend's ribs. At this point, the Reverend was convinced that Bells would not let him live. However, he thought to himself that if he gave Bells what he wanted, maybe he might change his mind and let him live. It was a risky plan, but it was the only chance that he had to survive this ordeal. The Reverend reluctantly approached his computer and proceeded with logging into his bank account. Now transfer all that money into this account, said Bells as he handed the Reverend a piece of paper with an 11-digit code on it. As soon as the Reverend saw the piece of paper, he realized that Bells had thought everything through and had no intention of letting him out of this situation alive. Hence, the only way he could survive was to talk his way out of this situation. He thought he could do something because of his ability to speak and deceive people as a preacher. Look, brother, I was just doing what I was told. Do you really think I wanted to become an informant or even a goddamn preacher? I just did what he told me, man. If I give you all my money, are you still going to kill me? Asked the Reverend in desperation. There's the man of faith everybody knows and love. Nigga, stop wasting my time and transfer the damn money, said Bells as he pointed the gun to the Reverend's head. The Reverend proceeded to transfer all his money into the account provided by Bells. Bells, with hopeful eyes, started rejoicing in knowing that he was now a wealthy man, but the Reverend's eyes, on the other hand, were begging for mercy. Bells knew that any notifications from his bank would take days regarding the transfer. He just received 7 figures, and that amount would take at least 48 hours to go through. Upon this realization, Bells, who was now satisfied, turned his attention to the Reverend, who looked like a deer caught in the headlights, and said, Now, you're a man of God, right? So what I'm about to do should be okay with you since you're going to heaven anyway. He placed his finger firmly on his gun's trigger, which was now pointed to the Reverend's head. In fear, the Reverend turned his back against Bells. With his hands now folded in a praying position, started to pray to God loudly. God, please find it in Brother Bell's heart to forgive me as I had no choice but to betray him. Lord, you know that the white man turned us against each other, and 2 wrongs don't make a right. Brother Bell, you have taken everything from me. Please spare me. While the Reverend was praying, Bells was unfazed by what he was seeing and hearing because he knew that the Reverend was now running out of his last reserve of faith and his end was near. Now you wouldn't shoot an unarmed man in the back, would you? Said the Reverend as he ducked his head in fear as he prepared for the worst but hoped for the best. Bells never answered the question and simply decided to point the gun towards the Reverend's stomach and pulled the trigger. The Reverend rolled on the floor, screaming in pain as he tried to stop his bleeding by placing his hands on the wound. He tried his best to control his breathing, knowing that every breath was now very valuable. But Bells was not finished wounding him. He pointed his gun towards the Reverend again and shot him for a second time, but not in the stomach, as before. This time he aimed the bullet at the Reverend's back, primarily the spine area. Oh God, help me! Stop! Please have mercy! Begged the Reverend as he began to lose consciousness. Blood was now dripping from his mouth. His teeth were a pinkish color from the bloodstain. Bells, who had clearly envisioned this exact moment several times in prison, clearly thought of everything. He dragged the Reverend's body out of the master bedroom. He took his lifeless body downstairs towards the garage that housed Reverend Albright's brand new car. He grabbed the car keys off the wall rack and used them to unlock the trunk of the fancy new Buick LeSabre in front of him. He thought to himself that the Reverend had really downgraded in vehicles since their last encounter. Bells picked up the Reverend, who was now completely lifeless, and tossed him into the trunk and closed it. He knew that someone would eventually find the Reverend. It may take a day or even a week, but he did not care. Fuck those bitches and the Reverend, thought Bells to himself. As he walked back into the house, he tossed the car keys in a lit fireplace located in the living room. Bells left the Reverend's property a satisfied man, knowing he got his revenge and money. The next morning, Reverend Albright's housekeeper, Linda, arrived at the property to carry out her usual chores. As Linda approached the mansion's main door, she realized that the door was open and had not been locked by anyone. This was unusual because the Reverend never left his house open, especially in a neighborhood like this. Linda entered the house and announced her arrival, but received no response from anyone, not even the Latina ladies who lived on the property. As Linda made her way up the stairs, she noticed a trail of dried blood along the steps and instantly started to panic. She was not sure what had happened here because the Reverend was a shady man. Nevertheless, Linda managed to make her way to the master bedroom. As soon as she entered the room, Linda was greeted by something she instantly wished she had never seen. Both the Latina women had been shot and left to die. Their lifeless bodies had been shot several times, and they looked like they had been in the room for a while. Linda started to scream for help as she ran downstairs toward the exit and began reciting verses from the Holy Bible in panic. Once she was off the residential premises, she quickly called the local police station to inform them of the horrific sight she had just witnessed. Soon enough, the local sheriff and his group of officers were at the Reverend's mansion and were going through the scene of the crime. They began by carefully examining the master bedroom. The sheriff made his team collect any fingerprint samples they could find, while he looked through the huge safe located in the Reverend's master bedroom with a flashlight. The safe had some crumbled dollar notes and some loose change here and there. Eventually, they ended up inside the garage. Bells had underestimated how influential and loved the Reverend was. "Look around. The trail of blood ends here. Check the lower cupboards," said the sheriff as he examined the brand new Buick with his gloves on. As the officers' team looked around, they could not find any evidence that could hint at where the Reverend's body was. But soon enough, that hurdle was also overcome. "Sir, the trunk has a piece of cloth sticking out of it," said one of the officers. "I don't think it's a good idea to touch the Reverend's wheels, but I guess we're running out of options here. Hell, if he's dead, he wouldn't mind anyway. Open it up," said the sheriff as he stepped back to let one of the officers stick a crowbar in the trunk's opening. As soon as the trunk opened, all the officers' worst fears were finally realized. The piece of cloth that was sticking out of the trunk earlier belonged to the Reverend's robe, and the Reverend himself lay inside the trunk motionless. The stench of his body instantly filled the whole garage as the officers looked at the lifeless body in silence. "Well, shit, this isn't going to be pretty," said the sheriff, as he clenched his nose with his hand so he could avoid the awful smell of the rotting corpse. One of the officers present in the garage worked for Mark part-time, and he realized that what he had just witnessed needed to be told to Mark. The officer slipped out of the room as quickly as he could and dialed Mark's number. "Sir, I got some very important news for you." "What now? I told you already. You get paid once you get that shit done," said Mark in an aggravated voice. "The Reverend's dead. You do realize what this does to us, right? Sir? Sir?" The officer realized soon enough that Mark had hung up the phone. The officer stared at his phone screen in silence as he contemplated who killed the Reverend and why.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you had fun or picked up anything from this episode, please assist us by hitting the like, subscribe, and notification buttons. You can also comment and share our content. These small things really help our channel and mean a lot to us. Also, special thanks to our Patreon supporters. You guys are the heartbeat of this channel, and we can't thank you enough for being so generous. If you would like to join our Patreon community, please click on the link below. You can contribute as little as $5 per month. You can get all kinds of perks. You can even buy merchandise of your favorite characters at our shop store. Click on the link provided below. That's going to do it for now. Until next time, remember you are cherished by us. So be kind and know that we consider you as family.